Hey everybody, it is your Uncle Jeff with InnRoads Ministries RPG Jam Sessions, back for another episode, and I am super pumped because yesterday I experienced one of the most important days in my entire life next to the birth of little baby Jesus. Okay, it's not nearly that important, I get it. I mean, come on, it's my wife, marriage, joining InnRoads, playing games with you guys, but okay, forget it. Yesterday was a super high point because I just finally got to see Rogue One, and I am completely enthralled with this film. I can't stop thinking about it. I want to start writing down ideas, and okay, I'm getting a little carried away here. Let's get things started the right way, shall we? Alright, I am going to tone it down quite a bit. And the main reason is that as of this recording, and probably I'll be uploading it tonight anyway, our princess has passed. She has sallied forth into the galaxy far, far away, never to be seen here again. I don't know, it's just really weird. I mean, 2016 has been completely awful with the idea of all the folks that have either been directly in my life or have been in the lives of all of us and all of you out there that have gone on to the great beyond this year. But the loss of Carrie Fisher was really huge for me, simply because I don't have any kids myself. My best friend has a couple of daughters, and she was a big icon in their lives. As soon as they were old enough, he showed them Star Wars, showed them how a tough woman can be. And this lady, she was an icon to stand against the stigma of mental illness and how you can fight your way back with the help of friends, with the understanding that there is something on the other end of that darkness. And it was a huge shock this morning when I found out, and when all of you found out, of course. But I wanted to kind of push this into hyperdrive. The name of the episode we're talking about is hype. We're talking about hype. So let's switch gears. We're going to get into the positive. We're going to talk a little bit about hyping up your game after seeing something completely amazing. I just saw Rogue One. I am completely enthralled with this film. It is one of the best films I've seen in a very long time. It's obviously not, the Oscar-winning quality acting that we were looking for, but you know what? I did forget that. It actually has some really good acting in there. We have a lot of good tension, even though we know where the story is going. There was a lot of the twists and turns in the road that made it really exciting. There was good action set pieces. There was good dialogue. There was good editing. All around, a fantastic film. And the thing that we're going to talk about tonight is hype. How when you come out of something that's super exciting, that really gets your passion going, you want to do something about it. Whether you want to write, you want to listen to certain types of music, or if you're a game master like myself, you want to get a game going that involves as many of the elements of what you've just experienced as possible. So with Rogue One, obviously I think I was maybe 3 minutes out of the theater, and I tweeted out that, hey, Edge of the Empire is coming. I have to do a trilogy. I have to do something set in this relative time space. I've got to do it. So expect that from InnRoads Plays. And a lot of that was hype, but it was balanced with the fact that I was already I had it in the planning stages of putting a game together. I was just thinking of it as a one shot, but now I'm putting it into a trilogy because I'm really excited about what's going on with this film. So how do you, out there in the interwebs, with your gaming group, especially new GMs, and I get caught up with this now, as you can see, how do you mitigate your hype and your excitement with getting involved with your gaming group? And whether it's a brand new gaming group or a current group that's running in a campaign or maybe its own trilogy or whatever, how do you get them hyped for it? What do you need to look for to make that happen? So let's take a look over here and just kind of go through a couple of points that I think might be worth sharing. First off, know your group. you don't. How many times have you come out of something and thought, oh my gosh, it's the best thing since sliced bread, this thing that I just experienced, only to find out that maybe 1 out of 100 people share your love of this thing. When I first saw Johnny Mnemonic, I loved Johnny Mnemonic, and in fact, it still tickles an awesome little sci-fi funny bone of mine. And not everybody does. Not everybody likes that film. But how do you find that out? How do you know that? You need to ask around. You need to talk to your group. Do they share the feels? Do they get as excited about this as you? Get them to experience it. If it's a film that you own or music that you own, play it. Let them know why you're kind of tuning in on this, and then see if they pick up on the vibe. If they do, you're one step closer to realizing a potential game involving this particular genre. So, for example, I'm thinking, using Rogue One. So I want to talk with my group and find out, hey, how did you guys like it? Did you connect with the characters? Did you connect with the mission, the desperation? What did you like about it? What did you not like about it? Start taking some notes. Then I got to have the conversation that, hey, we're in the middle of a D&D campaign. It's about 4 episodes in or 4 sessions in, and it's maybe 12, 15 sessions. It's a long campaign. Are they ready to go ahead and break campaign and maybe have a little one-shot action, maybe a trilogy? I mean, with the threat that maybe they might engage with this system a little bit more? Or are they neck deep in the game and they really want to stick with this game? Can you tone down your hype? Can you pull the brake on that hype train and then bring yourself under control and decide, I can write something up and then have something ready for them later? Or maybe open it up to a new group. But we'll talk about that whole issue later. So be prepared for them to say no. Be prepared for them to do 2 things. Maybe share in your excitement. Be really enthusiastic, but also to say no. Hey, Jeff, we're currently doing Of Minds and Biscuits. I don't think it's appropriate to skip out on D&D and all of a sudden just go into Star Wars. Yeah, we might be excited, but guess what? We really like the game you're doing right now. I'm speaking from my group, of course, and of course they like the game or else. Anyway. The concept here is recognizing your group, knowing your group. So if you break it, sometimes you're going to end up buying it. There's going to be an issue with alienating the group, potentially. I don't know, something to think about. So again, know your group, poll them, find out, how do they like this thing that you completely, totally love? Are they as hyped and excited? Are they willing to take a step aside and say, okay, how, what do you think this looks like? A single episode, a trilogy, whatever. And then, make sure that whatever answer they give you, you're okay with. Don't feel hurt or anything about it, because this may be something you are specifically passionate about. And then leave the door open to potentially either play that with this group or a whole new group altogether. So point the dose. Know the system. There's this thing that pay no attention to this math over here. I was not a math major. I was a creative writing major, and math quickly eluded me after high school. So keep that in mind. There's this thing I call the passion quotient. The more excited you are, sometimes the more excited the people you're trying to get involved will be. Ergo, how excited you can get them. See, I said ergo, not equals, greater than. I don't know math. How excited you can get them to be may equate to how difficult a system you can get them involved in. Let's say, for instance, we'll use the Johnny Mnemonic example. I go in and I see Johnny Mnemonic. I get hyped for Cyberpunk. You add in John Wick. You add in Matrix. I guess anything Keanu Reeves is in. Anyway, add those up together, and I'm thinking, man, I really want to get a Cyberpunk game to the table. So here's 2 roads that you can take, 2 roads that diverge in the middle of the city as machine gun fire and all sorts of things are going on. How difficult a system are you going to go into? Because you could go with Shadowrun, which I've played for many years. I've played in 3 out of the 5 versions, 3 out of the 5 versions. And each of them have their own levels of complexity, going from majorly complex to insanity. And because there's a lot of detail in these games, especially the latest edition with 5th, they did release a newer version of Shadowrun that's beyond 5th edition that simplifies things a great deal. But just using Shadowrun as an example, if I was going to compare that to the Sprawl, which is based on Apocalypse World or the Apocalypse World engine, I would think, okay, this one is very simple. It's really quick to grasp. I don't have a lot of nitty-gritty details to worry about. We can invent the world together and just kind of move forward and have a great game night, and maybe put that into a one-shot or a duology or a trilogy quite easily. But if you're familiar with the system, like my gaming group and I know Shadowrun quite well. So if we needed to slip into a quick game of that, we could probably roll up a few tunes and just hit the streets and start firing machine guns and going crazy. So know the system, because the important thing is, however passionate you are is how passionate you might be able to get your group. And if that elevates to the right levels, then you can decide on how difficult a game system you want to go with. You've already had the discussion about whether they're willing to. At this stage, they're willing to, but how excited are they really to get this done? So, point the trace. Know thyself. Okay? I walked out of Rogue One, and I was 3 minutes. I had a tweet out, and you guys can clock it. I can show you my movie tickets, and you can take a look at the tweet time. And within 10 minutes, I was in the car. My wife was driving. God bless her. She loves me so much. She didn't ask a question as I was flipping through my phone, and I was looking at a whole bunch of Star Wars notes that I had on OneNote. And I started thinking, I can totally put a game together. This will make a good trilogy. I can draw some stuff in from a D&D campaign I ran a long time ago. I can bring in some stuff from here and there and everywhere. And then I thought, man, I can't wait to get home so I can crack open my Edge of the Empire book and start looking through that. And my mind was already at light speed. I was already putting things down and getting ready to go. And we get home, and I've been talking to my wife about this, chatting her up. She's been incredibly patient, amazing woman. This is the kind of woman who puts up with my geekdom, but at the same time shares it just a little, because there's a scene where we see a very, very familiar face in Rogue One, and she leans over to me and she whispers, "Stay on target. Stay on target." And for those of you who've seen the film, you know exactly what she's talking about. And as soon as you do see the film, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. So anyway, she's weathering through the storm of nerdness and geekdom and Star Wars-iness stuff and trying not to fall asleep behind the wheel. And we get home and she says, "All right, babe, I know that you got a couple of games coming up here and that you've got a big 2017 planned. Does this fit? Does it really fit?" And so I had to think about that. I had to think, okay, do I have the bandwidth for this? Do I have the brain power? Okay, I mean, as a game master, we've talked in the past episodes about setting up games, about some quick ways to get things going and off the ground so that you can focus on the players. But there's going to be elements of hard work. There's going to be elements of thought. There's going to be times when you're in the shower, or you're driving to work, or you're at work. I do that. When you're at work, when all of a sudden an idea pops in your head, and it's because you have that at the front. It's always buffering in your brain, thinking, okay, well, what's the next episode going to be like? I mean, what can I could put this into a dungeon, or I could, put this into a spaceship or whatever. And all of a sudden, it's a test, really, about like how much brain matter you have, how much bandwidth you have. Some folks are really good at multitasking. They're really good at it. I myself, I'm a novice, maybe a level 1, level 2, or maybe just an NPC level when it comes to multitasking. So I have to really be careful about how much I stretch myself. So her question is, do you really have the room for this? And I had to really think about it that evening. And the hype was still permeating through the force and all my pores. And I decided, yeah, I got the bandwidth. Ow! Had an embolism, passed out, woke up the next morning, and still wanted to do it. So know yourself. Know what kind of room you have, what kind of time you have. You don't want to shortchange yourself, because you're obviously satisfying a bit of passion that you have for the thing you love, the thing you just witnessed or experienced. But more importantly, you don't want to shortchange your players, because you may get them all hyped up for it. You've got them ready to take the jump and go into, let's say, a complex system like Shadowrun. But then all of a sudden, it's like, work comes up and your other games come up, and now you're starting to lapse on the other campaign that you're running. Know how much bandwidth you have. So let me move on to the next portion of this topic, and that is how long. Tick tock, tick tock. How long do you want this game to run? As mentioned before in point the first, we were talking about current games. If you have a current game running, you want to make sure that you're not selling that one short, especially if the players are wanting to really go back to that, but they're willing to indulge you because they love you and they care about you and they don't want to see you pass out with excitement or lack of fulfillment. So they're willing to go with you on this journey. But keep the length of time at the forefront as far as saying, okay, guys, we're gonna make this a trilogy, or this is just gonna be a one shot. I kind of want to get that hijinks in there and have some fun with this, and then we'll jump right back into the game. And then set that parameter and live up to it so that your players have that expectation. And then they may get really excited about that game. You start them off in Shadowrun, or you go into a Star Wars Edge of the Empire game, and suddenly you're trying to convince them that you want to go back to that other campaign. Be prepared for that. You might turn this into the game that takes over all the other games. So how long? Have an idea of where you want to go. Conceptualize, whether it's a one-shot, a duology, a trilogy, or even a pentalogy, or if that's even a word, I don't know, a 5-shot. Get that concept in mind, share that with the players, get their opinions on it. But there's one, you're going to notice there's a big thread that goes through this whole thing. That's getting your players involved. Get them, finding out if they're as hyped as you are about the topic. Find out if they're hyped enough they're willing to leap into a different game. Find out if they're willing to trust you long enough to jump into said game. And then honor them by committing to that and saying, okay, here's the time frame. And yes, I am capable of managing this. I have the bandwidth to do it. So keep that in mind as new and old game masters. We all fall prey to the hype train. We throw the throttle forward and we go into hyperdrive as soon as humanly possible when it comes to some things that we're very passionate about. Whether that's music, whether it's movies, comic books, television shows, other media, books, of course. Why can I forget books? We get excited. And we want to share that excitement with everybody. I mean, look at social media, Twitter. We get so excited about food or movies or whatever, and just we post it, and bam, out it goes. And I mean, 3 minutes it took me to walk out of that theater and to jam out a tweet and commit myself almost blindly to a game. Thank goodness I already had this in plan, but still, it's hype. We get happy and we get excited. So keep that in mind as you put your games together, especially in the season of the big summer blockbusters. We had Star Wars this year. We have much more goodness coming up next year. Superhero films, comic books, whatever. Keep that all in mind as you enjoy your hype, as you enjoy your excitement and your passions, and bringing that to the table. Because you know what? The one thing I haven't mentioned just yet is that your players are going to benefit from your excitement. They're going to benefit from your enthusiasm, because when you put a game together like this that's based on something you're passionate about, you're going to put a lot of love into that. And it's going to come with 2 results, or 2 warnings, bonuses, however you want to look at it. The first thing is, again, you're going to be passionate about it. You're going to put your love into this, and you're going to enjoy it, and it's going to reflect in how you've been creative with this game. But the part 2 of that, and the flip side of that coin, is that if there is any form of rejection or a pushback or a request to change certain things, be willing to do that. You're going to be very passionate about your thing, about your precious. Be willing to crush your darling a little bit more. That's a big lesson. We'll have actually a whole thing about that in the future, but be prepared to crush that little darling sometimes. So thank you for your time. Again, I am Uncle Jeff from InnRoads Ministries. This is episode 5 of the RPG Jam Session, and I am really happy that you've been with us so far. As we move into 2017, we'll be having more guest hosts. My wonderful friend Brian is going to be back. We're also going to have visits from at least 4 other people that I've made contact with to talk about respective topics close to their hearts. So I look forward to sharing that with you, and I hope that 2016 wraps up for you very soon, and that 2017 looks amazing and wonderful. And dare I say, I'm kind of hyped about that. We'll see you later. Take care.